Hi, good evening. Can you hear me? Hello. Please, I want to know if you can hear me, please. If you can hear me, send a message on the chat box. Okay, Anita, you can hear me. Echoes. Okay, I'm coming. Let me try to fix that. Okay, so if you are here, you can drop a message on your Slack to join. We are about to start now. Please send a message. Okay, so Hello, can you hear me now? Hello, good evening. Can you hear me now? Please let me know if you can hear me. Yes, you can. Okay. All right. Okay, so good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's section. Before our speaker for today comes in, I want to I want us to go through a little bit of exercise, and if you were in class or if you were in last week's session, could you please share your takeaway of the LinkedIn optimization? Hello, can you still hear me? Yes, I want you to share your takeaway on the LinkedIn optimization that we had the session last week, and I want you, if you have implemented everything she taught last week, kindly signify. You can also send in your LinkedIn page for me to help you check it out to know if you are on track or not. So if you have optimized your LinkedIn, please let me know. Put it on the chat box. Also, include your key takeaway from last class. Your key takeaway from last session. What are your key takeaway? Yes, the last session is very educative and eye-opening. So, what did you learn? And from what you learned, which one of it have you implement? So it's not about learning, it's not about the session being educative, it's about you using what you are taught. So I'm waiting for you guys' response. I'm waiting. Nobody is talking. Is it that you guys cannot hear me? Please let me know if you cannot hear me. So I won't just be talking to myself alone. It's only Peter Show that responded. What about others? Samuel, Giveon, Victor, Ajayi, The Wheels Fashion, Adeoluwakinshi, Daramola, Annie. You guys should tell me your key takeaway. Okay, my question is, what is your key takeaway from last week's session on LinkedIn optimization? So share your key takeaway. And I also asked that, have you started implementing what our last speaker taught you? Have you optimized your LinkedIn? I want to know. If you have optimized your LinkedIn, share with me so that we can help you check it out. If there are places you make mistake, we can always correct you on that. Okay, Samuel, you joined the last session late, but I think I shared the link for you to rewatch. so you did not rewatch. That gives me the answer of you did not implement what was taught. Okay. If you want us to keep up with this section and keep bringing in speakers to share with you their experiences and important things that you need to know as a new techist. You guys need to implement everything that we are teaching you. So we are not just bringing it up because we want you to just come on the live and at the end of the day everything ends on the live. No, we want you to implement everything you are being taught, everything. And LinkedIn optimization is very important. Now, last week we told you to optimize your LinkedIn. This week is now to tell you how you can start selling yourself on your LinkedIn. So if you want to start selling yourself on LinkedIn today and your LinkedIn page is not optimized, people are not going to take you serious at all. People won't take you serious. So that's why it's very important for you to optimize your LinkedIn page. Okay, Annie, I can see your response. Yes, you need to choose a branding color. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Any other person? Our speaker is here already. Our speaker is here already, and I'll be bringing her up now. I hope you all have your pen and paper to listen to this section. Okay, so welcome, Miss Gracious. We are really glad to have you here, and thank you so much for granting our request to talk to our students on how they can sell their self using storytelling. So, guys, trust me, today's section is going to be full of a lot of informations that you need for you to sell yourself on any social media, for people to know the kind of tech role you have, the kind of skill you have. Nobody can sell you better than you, right? So it's very important for you to sell yourself. So that's why Miss Gracious is here to teach you all how to sell yourself with storytelling. So, Miss Gracious, are you ready?
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So,
Okay, so good evening. everyone. Can I start?
yes, you can. Yes, you can. Thank you.
All right, please, can you give me a few minutes to fix something before I start? Thank you.
All right, that's fine. So, everyone, I hope you all are ready with your pen and paper, or if you are going to be jotting in your notepad. I hope you all are ready because this person, this Miss, she's the god of storytelling, small god of storytelling. So, if you are going to miss, you are going to be here today, then you are going to be learning a lot from her on storytelling. She's someone that has write a lot of story stories, a lot of books, and she has even taken different competition on writing stories or writing books. So she's the best person for this topic. Trust me, she's the best person. So I think she's having network glitch. So guys, if you can still hear, let me know, and if you're happy to be here, drop your reaction on the comment section. So are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, fine. Thank you. The floor is yours now.
All right, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to sincerely apologize for coming a bit out of time. And I also want to say that it's great that you're here this evening to listen to how to sell yourself, especially on the online space. So, without further ado, my name is Gracious Benedict. I'm a LinkedIn coach, the founder of Wealth of Writing Academy, and a social media agent called the Gracious Digital Growth Agency. And so we'll be talking basically about how to sell yourself on the online space, how to tell your stories effectively in such a way that people buy into your brand, such a way that people trust your brand rather, and people believe in your brand. Now, one of the things you need to know about building a brand online is that you must have the KLT factor, which is the know, the like, and the trust factor. People must actually know your brand first of all. They must know that, oh, this is somebody that does this online. Let's say, for example, you are a writer online. They should know that, okay, you are a writer online, you are a content writer. Apart from being a content writer, what name do people know you for? Some people might know you as the inspiration writer, some people might know you as a pen packed writer. For example, anywhere people see my content online, especially on LinkedIn, once they just see the global gracious, they know that this content is coming from me. Anywhere people see my content with the blue emoji, people know that I love to write my content infusing my brand color and my brand name. I love it always. At the end of all my content, you will always see my brand name. At anywhere around my content, you always see my brand color, which is the blue and the black color. That is it. So you must have something that people can know you for. People should be able to see your content anywhere online and say, okay, this is Damilola, this is Damilola's content. No matter what it is, even if the person copied your content, somebody should be able to pinpoint that, okay, this is Damilola's content. I can tell when Damilola has written a content like this online. People should be able to know you for what you do. Should be able to pinpoint wherever they see your content online, be it LinkedIn, be it Facebook, be it anywhere. And one thing you should know that the platform that loves stories a whole lot is LinkedIn and Facebook. You shouldn't miss that. LinkedIn loves stories, Facebook loves stories, but then other channels like Twitter love more of short tweets. But while telling short tweets, you must be able to infuse a little story into it as well. Instagram love more of videos, which is visuals. Same with YouTube and TikTok. But you see, LinkedIn and Facebook, those two platforms, they love stories. Anytime I'm scrolling through the Facebook app, I cannot scroll past through a story. Anytime I'm scrolling through the LinkedIn app, I cannot scroll past through a story. So you should know that story is what sells you online. Story is what makes you believable online. Stories are what makes you trust trustable and likable online. You can tell your story and somebody just read it and immediately connect with you. That thing you're finding it so difficult to share might be what somebody else is going through, and the person might just be looking for somebody who is going through the same thing as he or she, and will be looking for maybe a lesson to learn from it, or something to just hold on to at least assure the person that, oh, you are not in this alone and I am here for you. That is why people follow people. They follow people because they connect with people's stories, and they always want to go back to those people's profile just to find inspiration, just to find motivation, just to be like, at least I can actually learn something from this person through his story that resonates with me and all. So first of all, you must actually get the no factor. Let's talk about the no factor. You must get the no factor as well. And while trying to get the no factor, you should be known for something. You should be known for something. You can't be talking about marriage today, tomorrow you're talking about relationship, tomorrow you're talking about being a women's coach, tomorrow you're talking about content writing, the next tomorrow you're talking about LinkedIn, next tomorrow you're talking about affiliate marketing, next month you're talking about positioning yourself on Upwork. It doesn't work that way. If you want to build a knowable brand, you must first of all be known for what? You must be known for something, which is very, very important. And so ask yourself first of all, what do I want to be known for? As a tech expert, do I want to be known as a technical writer? Even as a technical writer, you could share your story as well. Share your story of how you started learning technical writing. Share your story of the difficulties you passed through it. People connect to that. People connect to that a whole lot. And then you could give yourself a name that people can always know you for. That people can always know that and see that once they see that your name, they know that, oh, this guy, this is this girl, he's a technical writer. I resonate so much with his content and a whole lot. You must be able to position yourself in a way that people can easily know you. And then when we talk about the like factor comes when you tell your story. People get to like you when you tell your story. There's a whole lot stories can do. Stories can help you sell yourself. Stories helps you connect better with the right audience. You should know that not everybody is your audience. You cannot attract everybody. That is first of all. You should know that you cannot attract everybody as a whole on every social media platform. You should have a specific audience. So you should ask yourself, who are my audience? Ask yourself, how do I want to attract them? Of course, you want to attract them through storytelling. Ask yourself, what kind of stories can actually resonate with this kind of people? Let's say, for example, you actually want to attract students online. We have so many students online who are maybe want to take up a skill. I know most people who come to meet me on the online space, most of them are students, and they tell me, oh, they want to learn a skill that can fetch them so many money, or that can give them a side income and all. And that is what most of these students want to do. Most of these students that don't have a skill and want to learn, that is what most of them want to do. So let's say, for example, you're positioning yourself as a writer and you want to attract students, and you yourself you write students. It's very easy for you to tell stories that resonate with students, because you can tell the struggle they go through without having a side income. You can tell the struggle they go through for waiting for their parents for months before sending money for upkeep and all. And you know that relying on parents' money doesn't really suffice, especially in the Nigerian sector of education and all, where there's so much to do, there's so much billings, and there's so much things you need to cover up for. So that is why I see most students actually learn to get a side income that can actually suffice them, while anything their parents send may not really go far, but then their side income can actually suffice them at all. So you can actually relate to what students go through. There are students that go through a whole lot. There are students that go through a whole lot. There are students that actually rely on their parents for every single thing. You can actually talk about that. You could talk about, okay, how you started relying on your parents as first, how the money they were sending you was not okay. You had to go learn a technical skill, whether you learn technical writing, whether you learn data analysis. You just had to learn a technical skill that could help you, that made you so much money on the online space. I know that one of the skill that I have so well that has helped me a whole lot on the online space is video editing. Yes, so many business owners need video editors. brand owners need video editors, companies need video editors, founders need video editors. You cannot actually erase a part of video editing, especially when it comes to creating content and showing up in the online space. And you know that even the online space now is doing more videos. Yes, we are going into more of the video sector, the TikTok, the Instagram, and even LinkedIn now has a video feature attached to it, and we can tell about the Facebook views and all. So you see, video editors stand a very high competition, especially in the online space. So having a video editing skill that is like, you can edit so much, you can edit attractive high lens videos that could actually attract your right audience and all. Companies will be willing to pay you for it, business owners will be willing to pay you for it, and you can also do it for your own brand. That is the most important thing. I edit videos for myself and I edit videos for others as well. So the most important thing is you can also do it for your own brand. So learn a skill that you cannot just do for others, but you can do for yourself as well. And while learning that skill, inculcate storytelling. You can be learning a skill and you're telling a story of the experiences you're going through while learning that skill. You can be learning a skill, and while you're telling your story, people already connect. People can already feel like, oh, that. I remember when I started learning content writing initially. Let me go back to my secondary school days. I remember when I started learning content writing, I was always telling my experiences. I was just doing it innocently. That's just the truth. So I was just telling my experiences of my content writing experience, how I was learning, and how I was reading extra books just to make sure that I, first of all, increase my vocabulary. I, second of all, learn punctuations. As a content writer, those are the things you must learn. You must learn the art of creative writing. You must you must know how to learn your vocabulary as well, and then know how to put the right punctuations at the right time. So I was sharing those experiences with my audience, despite the fact that I was still learning and I was a newbie, and I was even implementing it rather in the content I was writing online. People will reach out to me and be like, "Oh, I want you to write an article for my brand. I want you to write an article for my website. I want you to write an article for my blog." I will have to reject some because I know that, okay, I am not that good enough to actually write for blogs and websites. But the ones I know I could write very well, I will actually accept it. And as early as secondary school, I started earning a little money for myself. So that is what storytelling can do for you. Storytelling can sell you so far that it can take your name even where you do not expect, especially on the online space. I always tell people, do not joke with being online. Do not joke with being online. When you are online, do not be shy. Do not be shy of telling your story. Do not say, why should I tell my story? Who will it even resonate to? If it will resonate with so many people, if only you knew, it will resonate with so many people. You shouldn't tell yourself, nobody will resonate with my story. It will resonate with so many people. You just have to tell it to the right audience. So like I said, if your audience are students, get to know what challenges students face, get to know their pain points. Tell the story in such a way that they can really relate to it and be like, this person has really taught me something through this content. Your brand should be able to impact, and you can impact through education, you can impact through stories, and you can impact through inspiration. You should just know that your brand should be able to impact a whole lot. And then, if your audience are professionals, you know how to relate better with them. Get to find out what pain points professionals go through. If your audience are business owners, get to find out that. If your audience are nursing mothers, get to find out. If your audience are women, get to find out. Now, that is where you need to diversify and know who your audience are. The thing is, if you do not know who your audience are, you will just be telling random stories and they will make no impact. They might make one or two impact on the lives of people, but then you really know that you are not really talking to the right audience you should talk to. So that is why it is advisable that you first of all know who your audience are. It is very important. It's just like know your customer. That's the KYC factor, right? Know your customers. Your audience are your customers. So you should know who they are. And when you're telling your stories, it brings in the like factor. Now, I'm going to be talking about the kind of hooks and headlines you should use in your stories and all. But let's go ahead to talk about the trust factor. Now, the trust factor comes through consistency. They get to trust you through consistency. through the showing up every day online. And some of you want to build a brand, but you show up today and the next time you show up is next month or the next 2 months. That's it doesn't work that way. It doesn't really work that way, because if you decide that, oh, you want to show up today and show up the next 2 months, you're going to be building a brand that is not trusted. And that would be like hitting yourself on the leg. That would be like hurting yourself, because you're building a brand that people cannot trust. If people see you once in a while, they'll feel like if they patronize you for something, you're going to show up once in a while. And you don't want to give up that impression that you want to show up once in a while. That is why consistency is very important. And then you know that success, building a successful brand happens over time. You need to keep showing up consistently. As you keep showing up consistently, you keep building trust in the minds of your audience. One way to build trust in the minds of your audience, like I said, is consistently showing value. You give them value, you impact them with value, you tell your story effortlessly. I remember there was a time I shared my story on LinkedIn. Remember, I said LinkedIn is a platform that loves so much storytelling. They want you to share your struggles, they want you to share your wins, they want you to share your processes. And that is the basic foundation of telling stories. If you want to effortlessly tell stories, you do not really need to crack your head a whole lot. I'm going to be coming to that. You do not really have to crack your head a whole lot to say, which story will I tell today? No, 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 no. There are a whole lot of things happening around you could tell stories about. But then, talking about the trust factor with your audience, you should learn to be consistent. You should always learn to show up consistently, even when you don't feel like you're not showing up for yourself, you're showing up for your audience. So you should learn to know that, oh, I need to show up consistently, even if I don't feel like showing up, at least I have to show up. That is one thing you need to know. You need to know that regardless, you need to just show up. So therefore, one of the ways to stay consistent is by, scheduling your posts. You can schedule your content. That social media platforms have the scheduling features. Instagram has it, Facebook has it, and LinkedIn has it. I don't know for Twitter and YouTube. I don't really think YouTube has it, but then um, this app too has it. What other app is that? But I know of Facebook, I know of LinkedIn, I know of Instagram. Those three apps have the scheduling features that you can use. And so, especially as a student and as a busy person, as an entrepreneur and a student, you know that you'll be struggling with so many things. You'll be trying to balance so many things. You cannot always be on time at the right time to post. Let's say, for example, that your scheduling or your posting times rather are 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 12 p.m., 4 p.m., and 6 p.m. You know that as a student, sometimes it will not be possible for you to be on time, especially let's say by 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. to post on your social media platforms. That is where scheduling comes in. Now, I hear some people tell me, Ma, that scheduling, does it work? Like, I'm like, it's not the same thing. Scheduling is the same thing. You schedule it, you give it the time you want it to drop, and it drops immediately. The only difference is that you are not online, you are not there to maybe react on your content and maybe follow up and all that. But then it's the same thing as posting that minute, and it's the same thing as scheduling it for posting the later time. So it's literally the same thing. But people feel that if you schedule your content and all, your audience will know that you're not the one who posted it, or they will feel like you scheduled your post. Well, I understand that, but then you should know the place of delegation. As a brand owner, you should understand delegation. You should understand delegation a whole lot, else you will burn out. So you need to actually schedule your content. Learn to schedule your content. It doesn't hurt to schedule. You can schedule your content for the week. Like I batch create my content for the month and just schedule it at once. It's just that recently I've not really been having a whole lot of time to do that and all. But what I always do is I schedule my content for the month. I batch create my content in 2 days or 3 days. I'm done writing my content for the month. You just have to spark out that creativity in you. And secondly, for you to effortlessly, some of you might be asking, how do you effortlessly create content in batches and just schedule them and all? You need to understand when your creativity mood is active. You need to understand it a whole lot. You need to understand when your creativity mood is active. Now, there are some of us that there are some of you that you don't get like quiet environment makes you creative. Let me put it like that. There are some of you that quiet environment makes you creative. There are some of you that when you're listening to music, you just start getting inspiration. And there are some of you that when you're in the bathroom, you start getting inspiration. There are some of you that when you are cooking, you get content inspiration. I was having a one-on-one consultation with a student of mine, and she said she gets inspiration when she's cooking. She gets inspiration when her mom is cooking. And that is the kind of story she tells on LinkedIn. She was trying to get me to teach her how to position herself or how to sell herself better on LinkedIn through storytelling. And I told her, what sparks your creativity mode? You need to know what sparks your creativity mode. When you understand what sparks your creativity mode, you'll be able to create content in batch. So if cooking is what makes you creative, when you understand that cooking is not bad, I know the water and every little thing that comes with kitchen and all, but get a pen and a jotter when you are cooking. If you cannot get a pen and a jotter, you get a phone, or you get a journal with you if possible, or something you could just use to jot out your creative ideas. From that creative ideas, you can actually get a whole lot of content to write and expand on. If your creative mode is activated in a quiet environment, know when you are actually in a quiet environment to write batch of content, to write so many contents, to write a whole lot. Like I myself, my creativity mode is always expanded or is always activated in a quiet environment. I love and treasure a quiet environment. I cannot even function in a noisy environment. And when I'm cooking, I'm always listening to music and all. So my creativity mode is always activated in a quiet environment. When your creativity mode is activated, create content that time and schedule your content to stay consistent in order for you to build the know, the trust, and the like factor with your audience. And then telling stories. Let's go into how to tell your story. Let's say, for example, you had a major setback in your business and a career, and your career rather, maybe as a technical writer, a video editor. Video editing is a key, is your skill and is your career. It's what gives you money. Whatever gives you money is something that has become your career, whether side or majorly, it is your career. So let's say you had a major setback. I remember there was a time that when I first opened my academy, the Wealth of Writing Academy, when I first started it, I had a very serious major setback that led me into something I did not even plan for. And then I had that period to like try to balance up. I almost gave up. I was like, no, I wasn't going to do this thing again. But then something just kept telling me, just try these options. I got so many advice from friends. I got so many advice from especially my mentor telling me on how to do. I know that that period it was my mentor that saved me, because I was almost going into a drain and all. I started my academy. I brought in staffs. I brought in coaches to help me teach different skills, from the content writing skill to the story writing to health writing to CV writing to even social media management and virtual assistant skill. So we had a diversification of skills like that in my academy. And then at a point, it got to a point where students were expecting, I'm going to tell the details in full. It got to a point where students were expecting that the class was going to be free all through. You know that in lead generation, when you want to do lead generation, you actually generate leads, making it free at first. A student should be able to see the value you can offer before they can pay for the premium value. So in a situation where students were expecting that the class was going to be free all through, it was like, okay, what do I do? What do I not do? But then at the end of the day, I was able to pull through that instance, and I graduated over 100 of my students. I certified them, and I even gave an opportunity to my best students to join my agency, my social media agency. And so one of the things I learned from that incident that happened to me, that was last year when I started my academy. One of the things I learned from that incident is that you should always prepare for the worst in your career. You should always prepare for setbacks. You should always prepare for the worst. And then secondly, seek advice from people ahead of you. That is why it is advisable for you to have a mentor in your niche or in your skill that is way, way ahead of you that can actually help you out and all. So when I told that story on LinkedIn, when I shared it on LinkedIn about how I was able to overcome it and the challenges I faced and all, people resonated with it a whole lot. People were like, this, I went through same thing when I was starting a business. I went through same thing when I was trying to start something like this. People can actually resonate with it, share their own thoughts, share their own perspective and all, because why? You shared a story. Now, you see, sometimes I can remember when I was starting out online, I was very shy. I was very scared of sharing my story. I was very scared of telling my processes. I was very scared of telling my problems and sharing stories like that. But then I got to realize that if you do not sell yourself, nobody else will sell you. The best seller is yourself. So if you don't sell yourself, nobody else will sell you. Others are making big money on the online. A whole lot of people are milking the online space by effortlessly telling their stories, and you are there shining off yourself, telling yourself nobody will be able to listen to me, nobody can listen to my story, nobody cares about my story. They do care about your story. You just have to be bold enough to tell your story effortlessly. Now, when you talk about getting stories inspiration, you could get story inspiration from events happening around you, like incidents that happened around you. You could get story inspiration from your environment, from your immediate environment that actually tells a lesson at the end that relates to your niche or your industry. So let's say, let me make it more clear. For example, you actually had a daily activity. Let's say you had a daily activity and you encountered something that can actually serve as a lesson for people in the writing industry. Now, what most writers do is that they say when they are out of content ideas, or when they are out of their content bank is empty, they go out to an area environment, let's say natural environment, just let the air pass through them, and then to just look around. And before you know, they start getting content inspiration and all to write content. And I've seen a whole lot of writers who share story of how they refill their content ideas. Some say they refill their content ideas by writing books. Some say they refill it by going to a natural space with air and fresh air and all. So you could tell a story of how you actually get your content ideas or your content inspiration. There was a post I read on Facebook of a lady who said she actually gets her content ideas from her experiences, from implementing what she has learned. She's a book editor. She's an ebook editor. And she said if you always wait to read a book before you actually get content ideas, you run out of ideas. Yes, reading books are great, but then she told a story then, and she actually gave a lesson. The lesson is that reading books are great, but then if you wait to read books before you get content ideas, you run out of content ideas. You can get content ideas from implementing. You are an ebook editor and you edit books every day. Let's say you edit books for clients. You could get experiences from the experience you had with your clients. Maybe you came across something on the book you were editing that maybe struck something in your heart, and then you're like, okay, what is the meaning of this thing? You go ahead and you find out the meaning of this thing. I actually tell a story out of it. It's an experience you actually had from implementing your skill. You could get more experiences in implementing than reading books. Now, I know that we are now in the Gen Z generation. Most people don't like reading books. Most people say, I prefer listening to videos than audio, or they prefer listening to videos rather than sitting down to read books and all. Yes, I understand all those Gen Z generation. I'm among them. So if you prefer, or if you strive more with listening to videos, good for you. You could also learn from videos, tell a story from it, and attach a lesson that actually educates your audience about learning more about your skill or your industry. Now, let me say, for example, when we talk about relationship coaches, let's look at relationship coaches. So many relationship coaches um, tell stories about bad marriages, let's say bad relationships, relationships that are not true, men that just want to deal with you and let you go, how to actually identify men that are not really interested in your development and welfare and all. They actually tell stories from there and then attach a lesson from it. They attach a lesson from it. And so you must be able to tell stories and attach a lesson that people can learn from your skill, that people can learn from your industry. The more you educate your audience, the more they get to like you. And you don't just come to educate them by saying, what is content writing? Content writing is this. It has been discovered that according to statistics, content writing has done dash in the next no, it doesn't work that way. If you just come and start defining, if you just come and start stating facts, it's going to be so boring for your audience, especially in these present times we find ourselves where people are hooked with stories. People, you must learn to understand that people's attention span is very short. People's attention span is very short, and so they will not want to sit. Maybe they are scrolling through their Facebook. Most of them are scrolling through their online space, maybe while going to work, maybe while coming back from work, maybe during their lunch break. That is what you should have at the back of your mind. You should have at the back of your mind that people always go through their Facebook page or their LinkedIn page or their social media page in their free time. And you should be able to catch their attention with a click of 1 second. With a click of 1 second, you should be able to catch their attention. And that is where hook, having attractive and scroll stopping hook comes in your story. I read a post on Facebook where a content writer started with a hook that says he refused to leave me until um how should I even put it? Okay, she said that the man refused to leave her until she became his woman. That was a hook. People love to read posts about relationships these days. People want to read content about relationship and marriage on face, especially on Facebook. The content that goes very viral on Facebook is relationship content. So then it's now as a point that even content writers now inculcate hook that starts with that. Now, I think I was talking to a friend on LinkedIn, and she was asking me, how do you generate hooks so easily that people can actually scroll and just stop and read your content and all. And immediately I got an idea from that discussion I was having with her. The idea and the hook I got was that what I learnt in split of seconds at university could not teach me in 4 years. Now people want to people want to learn something that's very fast. People want to learn very fast. They don't want something that will take them 4 years, like the university period and all. So my hook was what I learned, what LinkedIn taught me that I could not even learn in university in the 4 years I went through my university course and all. That was a hook, because I was discussing with her and she wanted to know how I effortlessly write hook on LinkedIn that actually makes people read my content, that actually makes people comment and engage and even repost and all. And from that discussion, I got a hook for my next content. So it can happen like that. Now, I just made a point. One of the way you can actually get hooks for your stories are through discussions you have with people around you. When you become someone who keeps sharing value, who keeps impacting, people will want to learn from you, people will want to know more from you. From those discussions you have with them, you could actually get an inspiration from there. You could get inspiration from anywhere. I just collaborated with, as a LinkedIn coach and growth expert. I collaborated with a fellow LinkedIn growth expert on how to grow on LinkedIn without engagement. LinkedIn is an app that deals more with engagements. It's an app, like, it's more of a community. LinkedIn is more of a community. It's not like Facebook that you just come and post and goes. On LinkedIn, you must be able to engage strategically with others. If you don't engage, people will not be willing to engage with yours, because LinkedIn is more of is a community, like I said, that you must engage with others and others too will engage with you. To grow on LinkedIn, you need strategy, you need engagement, you need intensity, and you need consistency. But that notwithstanding, most people on LinkedIn do not like engaging. People on LinkedIn do not like engaging. That is what I noticed a whole lot. As a LinkedIn growth expert, so many people come and meet me, ma, how can I grow my LinkedIn page without engaging? How can I grow my LinkedIn page without doing this? How can I grow this without, most of the time is without engaging. People don't want to engage. And most of these people are coming from Facebook. So, when you come from Facebook, in an instance that Facebook is a platform where you just post and you just go and people will just be commenting on your content and all. But on LinkedIn, it doesn't work that way. So we did a collaboration post on how to grow on LinkedIn without engagement and without connecting, or without networking rather. That was a hook to actually get people to read our content. At the end of the day, we told them you cannot grow on LinkedIn without connecting, you cannot grow on LinkedIn without engaging. Now, the kind of people that we attracted with that hook the most were the lazy people association. When you see lazy people who are not really interested in getting to engage strategically to actually grow intentionally on LinkedIn, those were the people who were mostly clicking on our content to read and all. And at the end, they were like, you got me with that hook. I was like, yes, that is the aim. You first of all use a hook to get your audience, and then you tell story, and then at the end, a lesson should be there. So look at it in the order of proportion. You first of all get them with a hook. You first of all get their attention with a scroll stopping content, and then secondly, you actually tell your story. Tell a story. Now, some people might ask me, what if you don't have a story to tell? Well, it's good for you to tell fictional stories as well. In an instance where you do not have your own story to tell fictional stories. Just make sure that the story is actually teaching a lesson that your audience can learn from. That is the most important thing. Most of the time when I tell stories, I don't really tell out of my own personal experience. Sometimes I tell from my peers' personal experience. I tell from my mentor's experience. There are sometimes my mentor will share his experiences with me a whole lot, and I will share those stories because those stories resonate with my niche, especially on LinkedIn. I could tell those stories and people will be like, they relate with it as well. There are people in your audience who can relate with an experience or a story your friend shared with you, or your mentor, or anybody. So you could actually get story inspiration from people as well. And you can tell your own story, and you can tell fictional stories as well. So you do not have an excuse not to share your story. So after you share a story, you tell a lesson. Make sure that you clearly state out the lesson you want your audience to learn from it. And then your call to action, which is very important. Your call to action could be, what is your thoughts on this? Your call to action could be, if you want to sell a class, especially if you want to sell a training or you want to sell something, you shouldn't play with storytelling. Storytelling is what will sell you so much, just like it says, using stories to sell yourself. So if you want to actually get people to sign up for your class, most of the way I got people to sign up for my LinkedIn training most of the times are through storytelling. I do not joke with storytelling a lot because storytelling has helped me in my brand, in my trainings, in my master classes, even in my one-on-one consultations. I don't fail to inculcate storytellings because those people I'm speaking to can actually relate to what I say. They can relate to what I say. They can relate to struggles they actually get on LinkedIn and a whole lot of things. So your content or your story must have a call to action. Your story is your content, and so you must tell it so well. You must tell your story so effortlessly. And some of you will want to ask me that how do you actually get to identify your audience? I talked about identifying your audience in order to tell a story that actually resonates with them, right? So for example, I'm a LinkedIn growth expert, and my audience are professionals. Do you know why I? Do you know how I got to find out that my audience are professionals? Because first of all, I teach people about LinkedIn. I got to realize that I teach people about LinkedIn. I train people on how to position themselves on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is not for just anyhow kind of people. LinkedIn are for professionals. LinkedIn are for people who are serious about their growth, their personal development, and especially their skills. So those people are categorized as what? They are categorized as professionals. And the age grade of those my audience are from 16 from 16 years to 15 years, 15, let me just say from 15 years to 40 to 50, they are professionals, both male and female. Those people are professionals. And as far as they have a skill, they have a business, or they have a company, they can actually position themselves on LinkedIn. That is very, very important. So that is how I got to understand that, okay, my audience are professionals. Now, if you are going into a skill, let's say for video editing, your audience can be business owners, your audience can be personal brands, your audience can be not really students. Students, when you want to deal with students, you are dealing with them in the training aspect as well. Students also can be your audience, but then you should focus more on business owners as a video editor. So you have to first of all know the niche you are. First of all, understand your niche. Understand your niche. Ask yourself, this is my niche. What kind of people are interested in this my niche? What kind of people are likely to benefit from this? And ask yourself, okay, what are their pains? What is their age grade? What do they really worry about? And you are going to know who your audience are. So it is very, very important. It is very, very important to know who your audience are in order to tell stories that resonate with them. Because if you do not know who your audience are, you cannot actually tell stories that resonate with them and all. And your story is you. Your story is giving your audience into a sneak peek of who you are. It is actually telling them what you do. It is actually giving them a sneak peek into your personality. Now, so many of you can actually tell, okay, let me say for example, a Proco doctor. Most of you can actually tell that Proco doctor is a medical expert. He teaches people about how to stay healthy in a casual and funny way. Now, most of you resonate with Apoko Doctor because he tells stories a whole lot. He uses real life experiences. He uses real life experiences to actually teach you something about the medical aspect and how to stay healthy. Now, a Progo doctor is one person you should actually see as an example that tells stories a whole lot. He tells stories, he uses real life experiences and all to actually teach people how to stay healthy, how to exercise, how to drink water, how to do this and do that to actually stay healthy. One person that taught me to actually be more intentional about my health is a Proco doctor. That man can teach you the most serious things in the most casual way and the most funniest way. So you need to understand how to actually teach your audience in a storytelling way. He uses more of storytelling as well. So you can actually tell that, okay, Aproko doctor is a medical expert and he does this and he does this. Why? Because of the way he tells his story, because of the way he does his content and all. So you should be able to learn from people also who are in your niche. Look at the way they tell their own stories and see how to tweak yours. You could actually learn from them as well. I learned from others in my niche. I learned from experts who are way ahead of me in my niche. One person who I learned from so much is Haoma. She's the LinkedIn queen on LinkedIn and all. And so I learned from her content style, I learned from her experiences, I even learned from her trainings, and I learned from her mode of storytelling and all. So you should be able to learn from others ahead of you. Look at people who are in your niche, look at people who are in your industry, and learn from them. And then we tweak to your in such a way that it can actually blend into your own voice, it can actually blend into your own tone and all. And then one thing you need to know is that while telling your story, have a voice, have a specific way of telling your story that people can actually see your content anywhere and say this content is coming from Daminola, this content is coming from Emeka, or this content is coming from Nkechi. You must actually tell your story in such a way. Anyway, I see a Apoko doctor's content, even if his face is not there, I know that this content is coming from a Apoko doctor. It will not pass him. So you should actually be able to tell your story in such a way that people can tell that this is you. So that is just it. And then like I said, stories help you sell yourself better, very well. Stories help you sell yourself in such a way that I know so many times when I've told my story, and stories has helped me get more opportunities on LinkedIn. Stories has helped me in collaboration. Stories has helped me in actually getting to know and like and trust with my audience and all. And so you need to actually inculcate stories in whatever you do. Most of the times when people reach out to me on LinkedIn saying they want me to come and train their audience on this, they want me to come and train on their audience on that, most of the time they take reference to my story. And most of the time they just say I should come and share my story. That's what they just want to hear. They want to hear my story of how I started out and how I've been able to build a resilient spirit that has actually helped me out in such a long time or along the way and all. So you see, what actually sells you out very well is your stories. You must be able to tell your stories very well. And then, so with that, I will say thank you very much. If you have questions to ask, please, you can go ahead and ask. I'll be here to answer your questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Gracious. Thanks for your time and thanks for dishing out those valuable informations. Okay, so before we start taking questions from our audience, I have my own question that I want to ask. Number one
All right.
is okay. So when you started, you talked about scheduling our posts, and you
Yeah.
mentioned that you write down 30 for the whole month. You write down your content and you schedule them. So I want to ask, what are the scheduling tools you use aside from the LinkedIn schedule feature?
All right. So the truth is, I don't really use any scheduling tools. I just use the LinkedIn scheduling feature. And that's just what I use because the LinkedIn scheduling feature can actually help you schedule as far as 2 months, 3 months. Is as far as it's within that year, it can help you schedule it and all. So even in my video content, I shoot my video content there in a day. I shoot 30 plus video content in a day and I schedule all for the month. So it's very, very important. I use Facebook has a scheduling tool. I don't really use that, but I just use the Facebook app to schedule my content and all. Even LinkedIn has a scheduling tool, but I just use LinkedIn. LinkedIn has a scheduling feature there that I just use to schedule all my content. So I don't use to I use the LinkedIn app itself to actually schedule my content, and you can use that as well.
All right, thank you. Okay, so my second question is that you said you write down 30 content for the whole month. Okay, so for a newbie that wants to just
Yeah.
start selling their stuff on LinkedIn, could you share with us the kind of content they can write for the whole month, like a template they can use for the whole month to start telling their story?
Okay. So let me start like this. Um, I have a format I use to post every single day. For example, on Monday, I can post an educational content on Monday. On Tuesday, I can post behind the scenes of my work, something like that. On Wednesday, I celebrate people. One thing that helps you very well on LinkedIn is to celebrate people. If you celebrate people in your network, you repost their content and all, it helps you a whole lot. So on Wednesday, I take my time out to celebrate people in my network and all. On Thursday, I could write a post about maybe an inspirational post or a post telling about a story I encountered or maybe a problem I encountered and how I solved it and the lesson I want my audience to learn from it. Very important. And then on Friday, I could share a story about how my week went, the lessons I learned from my week, and my work and my career and every single thing and all. So I actually have a lay down process on what I post every day. I have a content format for every day. On Mondays I could post carousels. On LinkedIn, visuals work very well. Video content, carousels, infographics, they work very, very well. So as a beginner, you must not really share as a beginner, it's not a must that you must write 30 content at a go. I did not start writing content 30 content as a beginner. I had to develop it over time. I can effortlessly do that because I've been able to understand where my creativity creativity mode is on. I told you before. I've been able to understand when my creativity mode is on, and I could actually, before I even start writing the content, I've had a whole lot of ideas I've jotted down in my journal. And that is why it's very important to have journals. I can be walking on the road and have a content idea, and I just jot it down in my journal. I can just be doing something, I have a content idea, and I just jot it down in my journal. So I use my Google Docs app to write. So by the time I say, okay, I want to sit down with my Google Doc app in a quiet environment, I just use those inspiration I jotted down in my journal to just keep writing and keep writing and keep writing. And so for a beginner, I'm not saying it's a must that you must write 30 content at a go. No, that's not what I'm saying, please. It's not a must that you must write 30 content at a go. You must learn to understand that you are a beginner, so you have to actually grow. You have to actually keep growing. You just have to keep sharpening that skill of your creativity and all. And so for you, I don't know how it works for others, but for you, you can actually journal your content ideas when it comes. Immediately it comes, you journal it. Immediately it comes, you journal it. Immediately it comes, you journal it. That way, you can actually have up to 10 or 15 contents that can even take you for the week. As a beginner, you should start with weekly content. Start with weekly content, or you just start with 3 days content. You could just write content for 3 days, schedule them, write the next content for 3 days, schedule them. That way you keep growing and you keep growing. Before you know, you can effortlessly sit down and write content for the whole month. So it's something that I've been able to inculcate and sharpen over time. I didn't just start from writing content the whole month. I started with one day. I even started with one day. I was finding it difficult to even write content for a day before I started with 2 days and then 3 days. And then I now jumped to weekly. From weekly, that is how I do monthly now. But I cannot say I can do 1 year straight. It's not possible. I can't do 1 year stretch content, but I know I can do monthly, and maybe the next phase I will have to stretch to is 2 months at a go. But then all I can say is, as a beginner, you should start from somewhere. Start showing up daily. As you keep growing, you will keep sparking that creativity in you, and you can effortlessly sit down and write content for as long as possible. Yeah, so that's it.
All right, thank you. Okay, since our students are not asking questions, so I'll be asking the questions on their behalf. Okay, so for um, a tech role that involves coding, let's say the software developers, the front end, or a UI UX person, that their work does not really
Yeah.
involve storytelling. So, how do they add storytelling to their posts? What a software developer been doing is all about coding, 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 coding. So how can they tell their story based on what they have been doing?
Well, it's very, very easy. It's very easy, honestly. Okay, first of all, I would say that even as even in your learning phase, you could tell story of the experiences you're going through while coding, even in your learning phase. I have a friend that is a tech expert. I see she codes too as well. And then she told me that one of the very difficult thing about coding is that for you to get something right, you could sit for hours or you could sit for days. I think there was a way she shared that story with me. She said you could sit for days for you to actually get one thing right to actually work when it comes to coding. That's an experience you can share. It's a story you can actually share. And when it comes to coding, stories are very important too as well. You don't have to say, okay, because it's coding, there's no story that is attached to it. There is story that is attached to it. You just have to be able to find it out. You just have to be able to know when that creativity, like I said, is in there. So you can share experiences you have while coding. Tell experiences of how you could sit for hours or how you could sit for days, or the frustration you pass through while trying to get that one thing, that one signal, or whatever it is. I'm not really conversant with technical stuffs and all, but then you could share experiences of how it took you a whole lot. Share experiences of how you almost gave up. because there are some people like you that cannot sit down for 2 days to actually get one coding right. They cannot sit down for 2 days. They can't even sit down for 2 hours, or let me even say 4 hours to get one coding right. So you must be able to know that, okay, this thing I'm going through is something that another person through who even wants to learn it, or someone who is even trying to learn it is going through. So you must actually use it as a story. Tell your story like that. Just say, okay, I went through this experience while trying to get this one coding right. I sat for days. I know of technical people who don't sleep for 3 days. They don't sleep for 3 days. They are always on their laptop trying to get one coding right and all. And so that is an experience that you can actually share when trying to build your brand in that actually that industry rather, or that niche. So it's an experience you can share. You can also share experiences as well while you were learning, while you were trying to learn, how it was difficult for you to actually get this right, how you thought you won't be able to learn it. Is a story. You could tell a story. And like I said, you could use peers as well. So as a technical person, you could have technical peers around you as well. Most of you can even be doing your work together. You can be doing your work in twos or in threes, and one person beside you can be going through one thing that is making it difficult and all. And then there's a lesson to learn from that thing. You could tell a story from it. So when it comes to coding, there's a story too to tell. Share your experiences. Share how difficult it was for you to just get that one coding right. So you could tell your story in that aspect as well.
All right, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. I have another question. I hope I'm not pushing you too much with these
Yeah,
questions. Okay. All
no
right, now.
problem. Thank you.
Okay, now I have this story in my head already about how my day went and the challenges I've been passing through, and I want to share that story with my audience. Now, and you mentioned about using the right punctuation marks at the right places.
Yeah,
So, how can I
yeah,
structure all my stories? Some people, we have that story in our head, but putting those
mm,
stories into writing to make it appealing to your audience for them to be able to read and understand what you are trying to say to them. So how can I structure that kind of story? Like, are there any tools to do that?
well, the tool I know you can use is Google Doc. Use Google Doc first of all to arrange your story. So first of all, you should arrange your, you know that when telling a story, you shouldn't just expose the real, or let me just say you must put suspense. Yes. When telling a story, you must inculcate suspense into it before you now expose the real resolution at the end. Yes, you must actually make sure that your audience are actually glued to your content. They want to know what is happening next. The first line should be able to give them or should I say make agitate them to read the next line. Yes, the first line should be able to agitate them to read the next line. The next line should be able to agitate them to read the next line. And so one of the things I always tell people is that do not overbulk your content. Do not overload your content. For example, your one paragraph could be with 10 lines, 20 lines. It's not actually nice when you have a content or you're telling a story and one paragraph is actually having 20 to 50 lines. It's not possible, especially when you're telling your stories on LinkedIn. Now I always tell people that your content should be able to have, sorry, I always tell people that your content should be able to be skimmable, should be skimmable. Now even on LinkedIn, people do not like reading bulky content. They do not like reading bulky content, and so you must be able to make sure that your content is as skimmable as possible. The highest should be 3 lines. Leave a space. Each paragraph should have at least 3 lines. Leave a space and go to the next. At least 3 lines so that your audience can be able to read it easily and then have a clue of how the ending will be and all. But then you shouldn't actually expose everything about your story at the beginning. First tell them how it started and then keep the resolution to the end. Put Make sure you inculcate suspense and all. I wouldn't really have time to explain it in depthly, but you should make sure that you inculcate suspense into your story, agitate them, add agitation to it in such a way that once they read the first line, they'll be intrigued to read the second line, they'll be agitated to read the third line, and then to the last line that actually tells it all. Now, let me use a story for example. A story of how I actually fell in love with content writing. Now, you can start a story like this. You can say, okay, I was coming back from school that day, especially people that tell stories for students. You can start with, I was coming back from school that day very tired when a man was just walking. And that story, I actually read it from Facebook. So I want to use it as an example for you to actually get a snippet of what I'm talking about. So you can actually tell a story of she told this story of, okay, I was coming back from school very hungry that day, and this man was just walking behind me, calling me, and I was trying to hasten my steps to make sure that he doesn't catch up with me. At the end of the day, he caught up with me and came to my front and was saying, okay, you are the okra in my soup, or you are the sugar in my tea, and asked for my number. I wanted to slap him at that moment, but then I just gave him my number, and before you knew it, he asked me out. And we started talking, and I fell in love. Yes, I fell in love with Mr. Writing. Now, this person actually started how should I even put it? Okay, the person started the story by saying, okay, this man was trying to ask me out, and then the man eventually was Mr. Writing. So you can just imagine that. First of all, if you were the one reading that kind of content, you want to be intrigued to know, okay, this man was following you while you were coming back from school, and then the person wanted to collect your number at all costs. The person said he will not leave you until you become his woman. I think that was the first hook I gave when I was talking about hooks and all. And the person said he will not leave you until you become his woman and all. And because of that, you actually started talking. You liked the fact that he was straight to the point and told you straight to the point that he likes you and wants you to be his woman, and you fell for it and you fell in love with Mr. Writing. Now, when people see at the end that it was actually writing you fell in love with, they will be like, and I thought it was a man. So you see, that's the kind of story you could actually tell. You can actually use something that people can relate to, and then at the end of the day, you tell them that, oh, this is it. So that's just it about writing. You start first with suspense about stories, rather. You start first with suspense, and then you end it with a resolution. So is that understood?
All right, yes. Thank you very
Can you
much.
hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I
You're
hope you can.
welcome.
All right, thank you very much for the wonderful section,
Yeah,
and thanks for dishing out value today. And I hope if we call you next time, you are going to grant our request. So most of our students here do not have any questions. So I'm going to take it that they understood everything you taught today. So thank you so much for attending. We really appreciate. Thanks for your time so much. Okay, so to all our audience, thank you for attending today's section on selling yourself with storytelling. So I hope you've all gained one or two things, and I hope you all implement every step she taught you all on storytelling, how to write your story, how to write content, and when to post, and who you should talk to, that is your target audience. So this brings us to the end of our section for today. Thank you all, and you should all enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye for
thank
now.
you.